Yeah. Hey man, all I'm saying is, nigga, you always got something to say. It's like you don't shut up. On the track.
A lot of niggas died 1865. Single Michael fled high, I ain't gon' let it ride. Everybody hot and black was never on your side. They do maps to tell your apps where you sleep at night. They put that white man on. Got you begging them for answers like that white man know. Had you swearing you was African, that's that white man home. Had you proud to be a savage, that's that white man's zone. And I ain't talking shit, this by definition. And being savage was our nature, y'all be non-existent. We done took your ass out when we was in them kitchens. Instead of showing you how to live and how to maintain business. White supremacy fake. Only way that shit real is if you do what they say.
Not crazy at all, okay? Everybody always saying that Dirty is crazy. Dirty is not crazy at all. Dirty just foresee a lot that a lot of people don't foresee.
I swear nobody could touch mine. The king with Aboriginal bloodlines, indigenous wherever the sun shines. I got it covered. We've been discovered in sacred land, not Columbus. Stop the front man, you're hating. The natives of copper color. We the grace, we embrace indigenous DNA. Ancestors beaten, raped, they captured us. We were slaves, but before we was peaceful people striving. They seen it, typical colonizer saying all our kindness is weakness, destroying nations, diminished our history, then erased it. Committed genocide, turned corpses to corporations. While more of us on the slave ship, they was taking us for fools, and we still wait for that 40 acres and a mule. Tell them run that, it's going down like a sunset. Our genocide was a setback for major comebacks. I run laps around these lies, speak facts you gotta find, but it's hard to rise cause we are trapped inside our minds. So it's time to break a chain, stop fighting and make a change. Different tribes worldwide, united on the terrain, giving game on survival. We passing the truth on how to live off the land and grow natural foods. Let's get it.
Your family was here when Columbus landed, huh? Is that right? Yeah. So you are not a black man, you're an Indian. Indian. No kidding. Now this is a shock.
We are learning more today.
Hey, you look totally black. Yeah, definitely Indian. Wow, definitely.
I'm driving down to my knees, Lord, answer me. I know them niggas ain't fucking with me, I keep my dignity. I know them niggas don't want no pipe, I keep my squeezy. Yeah, oh, big ass crazy. My mama tell me all the time, baby, you gonna be a star. But she don't even like right now. For real. How that your dog in the young, that nigga gon' be your peak. I had to stop fucking with niggas, I knew they weren't fucking with me. And I can't wait to run touch, we gon' run these mix. Shit, I can't wait to scope touch, we gon' kill the mix. I know them niggas ain't fucking with me, that's why I brought the blitz. I know them niggas ain't fucking with me, that's why I put the extension. I know them niggas ain't fucking with me, I make your mama bitch. I had to move up out my mama's house, I couldn't bring the titch. Cause when I leave up out this bitch, I gotta bring the kids. Hey, when I leave up out this bitch, I don't know if I'll come back in. And if you really active, nigga, you know what I'm feeling. I told my niggas bull out, cause we on a mission. My girl be telling me chill out, cause she need a nigga. And plus my son, he getting old, that's my little nigga. It ain't shit I wouldn't do for my fucking children. They making it back home and up, you know I ain't playing with you. I hear them niggas talking like I'll keep that going. I heard some niggas wanna ride me down, play with niggas. They know we keep those splits burning, we love to smoke on niggas. I'm tired of bitch ass niggas act like we don't know a nigga. I'm tired of bitch ass niggas act like we won't get with it. I feel like you gotta pin me, I swear y'all be ignoring niggas. I feel like you gotta pin me, young nigga, I keep my Jordan with me. I feel like you gotta pin these 3-3s, they ain't hit a nigga.
Yeah.
These 3-3s ain't hit a nigga.
I feel like you gotta pin me, young nigga.
I keep my Jordan with me. I keep my Jordan with me. I feel like you gotta pin me, young nigga, I keep my Jordan with me.
How your dog
And if that nigga wanna be a beat, I had to start fucking with niggas, I know you fuck with me. And I can't wait to wild touch, we gon' run the thing. Shit, I can't wait to scope touch, we gon' kill the nigga. I know them niggas ain't fucking with me, that's why I put the clip. I know them niggas ain't fucking with me, that's why I put the extension. I know them niggas ain't fucking with me, I make your mama bitch. I had to move about my mama house, I couldn't bring attention. Hey, I couldn't bring attention. I had to move about my mama house, I couldn't bring attention. Hey, when I leave about this bitch, I gotta bring the clip. Hey, when I leave about this bitch, I don't know if I'll come back in. For real. Yeah.
Shout out to everybody in the chat, man. I need y'all to thumb up the video, man. I need y'all to run them likes up, man. Share the live stream. Make sure you share this on your Instagram. Definitely make sure y'all tap in and share this on your Instagram. We about to get into some shit. Y'all ready? Y'all ready? If y'all ready, drop them fire emojis, man. That's all I want to hear. Let's get it.
Welcome. Once again, it's time. Yeah. It's King Isaiah, I'm demanding respect. I see everybody ballin' till it's time to connect. I see everybody kill us till you hand them a check. The cops read them they rights, nightsticks to their neck. 2 minutes chasing the check instead of checking priorities. Flexing heavy on the ground, but you still a minority. Fucking whips, your chains, or anything that came after. Misleading black people, you a fucking slave master. This is Genesis, I'm flipping the page backwards. Listen to intuition, we ain't got the same pastors. Me, I follow no man, I can't be programmed.
This soul food set the mood like a fucking slow jam.
It's time to eat up. I'm 10 toes down, who gon' defeat us? I'm living gold.
Aboriginal.
Check my features, who gon' speak up? I turn up and blow speakers. My own teacher, I grew up with no. I'm 10 toes down, who gon' defeat us? I'm living gold, Aboriginal. Check my features, who gon' speak up? I turn up and blow speakers. My own teacher, I grew up with no leaders. Can't trust people, cause they ain't telling the whole truth. Get directions to heaven, but you live in the hell too. That's how I feel, keeping it real. Love it or hate it, either way they trying to crucify me like the savior. The thorns in my crown, they knowing that I'm a king. We been crossed too many times, whipped and hung from trees. I am my ancestors from the past that have bled, and now we here resurrected. Bitch, I'm back with the dead, immortal. They can't kill me, I'm forever on the rise. They despise my genetics, it's something special about my kind. I'm descendant of the ones in the tombs. Brown babies coming from wombs, in tune with the sun and the moon, you feel me? If it ain't clear, it's time to switch optics. This ignorance got us moving in fear, and that bring them big profits. But I'm a prophet, so I kick knowledge. Cause the shit that you hearing on the radio got us misguided. They got our goddesses hating they real bodies, and the gods getting high off lean and pill popping. Bodies are still dropping. Is you paying attention? I guess not. You still paying to listen. I move different in my true image. Just too many projected hate. Who gon' lift the whole world up and tell them they great? Everybody getting money, but who's spreading the bait? So we can buy back the block, start to better this place. Cause our
skin tones is dog, divine mastery.
The half room from my dome
defines gravity.
Yeah. The real rulers of earth rebirth humanity. Facts. The queen's high supreme, call her your majesty. Facts.
You better battle me, listen, don't be a casualty.
Fuck a colonizer,
we guardians of the galaxy.
They super late.
Bitch, I move true, fuck away.
Earth is our true estate that I like to illuminate and prosper. I promise I'm passionate with my power. I'm writing all my wrongs and balancing every chakra. Who gon' stop when my daddy try? The reason you so scared to fly is cause you scared to die. But I exist on dimensions beyond this plane. You thinking it's all a game. When you open up your eyes, your energy start to change. We still traumatized and healing from all the pain. It's good versus evil, our enemies all the same. So I'm 10 toes down with my feet.
Whatever it takes. The alleyway.
Coco, this your season right now.
They won't see me. They won't let me care. I gotta sleep with one eye open. Children been making me nervous. I take a piss, my hand on the strap. I know the odds wanna murder. I got a feeling deep my stomach. Paranoid, yeah. I won't let them, yeah. They won't see me, yeah. I gotta sleep with one eye open. Children been making me nervous. I take a piss, my hand on the strap. I know the odds wanna murder. I got a feeling deep my stomach. Paranoid, yeah. I can't let them, yeah. They won't see me, yeah. I put attention, all of my blood, all of my veins. They started with perky, now that hair run up his veins. You started with serving, now them drugs drove you insane. Started with dealing, I grew up with killers, they taught me the game. I got some niggas that die behind, and that shit won't never the same. I know some niggas that lie behind, and that bullet had his name. Ain't no reason to cry about, cause that shit won't never change. MTF the 4th and P, my niggas can't get out the game. I gotta sleep with one eye open, been making me nervous. I take a piss, my hand on the string. I know the odds wanna murder. I got a feeling deep my stomach, paranoid, yeah. I won't let them, yeah. They gon' see me, yeah. I gotta sleep with one eye open, been making me nervous. I take a piss, my hand on the string. I know the odds wanna murder. I got a feeling deep my stomach, paranoid, yeah. I can't let them, yeah. They gon' see me, yeah.
Lost, see, I glossed too, we shit ain't been the same. Heard the ops talking to the.
Yo, peace and blessings, man. You already know the vibes, man. It's your brother, Big Aboriginal Power, man. Shout out to all the American Aborigines and everybody else tuning in the chat live right now. Make sure y'all hit that like button, man. Run up them likes, man. It's very important for you guys to smash that like button on the way in. If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. Don't forget to hit the notification bell to get all your latest updates and notifications to the live stream. Man, with that being said, man, peace and blessings. This is the Waking Bait. Let me know where y'all at in the chat, man. Let me know where y'all at and what y'all smoking on this Grand Rising as we get together and conglomerate and get to this fire ass fucking information that we about to put together. Man, y'all already know the vibes, man. Shout out to some of the brothers already starting it off with the $2 challenge, man. They supporting the $2 challenge, man. Let me say shout out to the brother Craig. Let me say shout out to the brother Khalil Smith. He said for dropping that heat. And the brother Craig said for the information. We appreciate that, man, for my time and the information that we put out, man. I got some more exclusive deals. Y'all know the shit we've been bringing out, been heat. So hopefully y'all enjoying it, man. So listen, man, I want to say shout out everybody that's tuning in right now that's not able to chat. Shout out to y'all. I know y'all may be working on your daily commute. Make sure y'all be safe. Keep it in, tuning in. I appreciate y'all for tuning in. I also want to take the time out to shout out everybody in the chat for taking their time out to even comment in the chat. You know what I mean? Letting Big Aboriginal Power know they all in this thing. So let me say, let me shout out to some of the brothers and sisters in the chat. Shout out to your Massey Tongue. Shout out to goddamn Ebony Halley, excuse me. Shout out to Gretchen Helms, Carbon Crowns, Cool Face. Shout out to the Empress in the building. Shout out to Boot Camp. Shout out to Khalil. Who else we got up in here? Shout out to Joshua Stewart. Shout out to D Cobb Music. Shout out to Erica Grensell. Shout out to James Williams. Shout out to Leonidas. All right. Shout out to True Food. All right. Shout out to Son of California. Shout out to Matthew Craig. Shout out to Matthew Craig, my brother back to Black Lotus in the fucking building, man. Shout out to Kareem Dunn. You know what I'm saying? Who else we got up in this thing? Now I believe that's it, man. That's it. Shout out to everybody that tuned in. Hopefully I ain't missed nobody's name or nothing. So yeah, man. Hopefully everybody can hit that like button, run up them likes, support the channel. How can I forget my OG man, Pop Reed in the building? Shout out to Pop Reed in the building, aka Wilmore Reed. Y'all show the elder some love in the chat, man. Y'all show the elder some love in the chat. That's Pop Reed. You understand me? Yeah, get it. Don't get it twisted, man. Shout out to y'all in the chat, man. Before we even get started, I'm gonna need everybody in the chat that can comment. Drop those fire emojis in the chat. Let me know that you can hear me in the audio loud and clear. Go ahead and drop those fire emojis right now. We about to get right into this fire ass bill. Y'all see the fucking topic: ancient history of America, lost Aboriginal science and culture. Man, we about to get into this shit right now, man. Let's get it. Let go.
06, I think, when he was a kid. And I would go, it was actually for the wedding of King Leopold. Posting information. Someone sent, let's see, Jack Benter
drip check
gallery of a relative's trip into.
Hey, y'all gonna hit that like button, man. We're gonna get it started, man. Shout out to my brother Wolf in the motherfucking building. Shout out to Trop Moses, Master Green, and India Goddess in the building. Shout out to Craig Lloyd, too. I don't know how I skipped over my brother Craig Lloyd. Shout out to Eastside 1415. Appreciate y'all for tapping on in the chat. Let's continue this thing out.
Are we gonna see more evidence of ancient mounds and what is contained within them, but also evidence of these pyramids? And some of these pyramids we know the contents of, and they're actually the burial mounds, massive burial mounds or pyramid-shaped mounds of rulers. And within those chambers in those pyramids are not only the crypt of the ruler, but also all kinds of very interesting artifacts.
Shout out to Black Wolf in the building.
Afterlife,
Black Wolf.
Furniture. In some cases, they have animals that were favorite animals that they kept. And you can see a great deal about this whole phenomenon of Chinese mounds and pyramids in a photo journal that I posted on the Facebook page. And to see that, you go to Facebook, go to Earth Ancients, go to groups, and there's a really interesting photograph of one of these mounds that I've really never seen before. It's really well constructed. And it's similar to the mounds we have here in America and some of the ones you might see in South America. But the dirt and the way they packed it is very unique. So check that out. I posted an article that I wrote called "The Eyes Say It All, The Genius of Ancient Egyptian Sculpture." I reposted it. It's an article I wrote in 2013. And I want to point this out. I haven't talked about it. It's funny because I wrote it before I started this podcast. And I was fascinated by the reflective quality of these sculptures. And what they actually did is they took semi-precious stones and they placed those within these sculptures. And some of these sculptures are wood, some of them are porcelain or clay. And they added obsidian and some other reflective stones in the eye. And what's very odd about these and very brilliant is that there's a quality of the eyes actually following you as you walk around. And I remember going to the Met in New York and seeing one of these sculptures, and it left a huge impression on me. And I did a little research, and a couple of scientists actually dissected and analyzed these eyes. And it's a piece of brilliant engineering, basically, how these eyes are not only very lifelike, but they also have a quality of actually seeing or looking. It appears like they are looking at you and they follow you as you move. So the article's on the Facebook page, and you can go to Facebook Earth Ancients. Again, the article's called "The Eyes Say It All, The Genius of Ancient Egyptian Sculpture." I think you'll find it interesting. It's a short article. I'm hoping to have my website up when my web developer comes back from vacation. So it was going to be at the end of September. September is just about ready to be completed. I hope to announce it the first week of October. But anyhow, these articles that I'm writing, I would prefer them to be on the website simply because there's so much more that you can see on the website. Gallery.
Shout out to everybody in the chat, man. Thumb up the video. It ain't even got started. This is like the introduction to the bill. We about to get into the meat and potatoes of the ancient America lost history. So yeah, man, just keep paying attention. Let's get
to the entire reconstruction. You can see the details of what they did with his remaining skull and fragments of his body, and it's quite fascinating. Technology is providing us with quite a good look at a lot of people that passed away thousands of years ago, and it's, who knows? I mean, I just read an article the other day where they found the remains of an individual that had enough tissue left that they could approximate how he talked. We'll talk a little bit about that in the future. And they were able to actually reproduce sounds from his voice, and they made this person talk.
Did y'all hear that?
Which is kind of scary.
Let's run that back. I want y'all to hear what he's talking about.
2,000-year-old skull that was analyzed, and it was a 3D computer graphic reproduction of this individual, and it's just amazing what they were able to do. The skull was fairly fragmented, and they were able to, through computer scans, reconstruct the skull and then virtually apply the skin over the skull. And you see this individual, and he's pretty fierce looking, but it's quite interesting because his burial chamber is fairly significant. He has a lot of gold pieces, a lot of jewelry, a lot of his actually just some pieces of furniture they found were quite interesting too. But check this out. It's on the Facebook page. You can see the entire reconstruction. You can see the details of what they did with his remaining skull and fragments of his body, and quite fascinating. Technology is
so they done found some ancient Aboriginal. They done reconstructed the body, 3D printing. They done formulated all this shit to the point where they can reenact and reconstruct, re-imitate his voice, his vocal cords, and how he would have actually sounded. That's spooky. That's like them digging up your motherfucking ancient granddaddy, constructing his throat, everything, and making it be able to sound like him. Like motherfucker able to sound like your granddaddy. Now that's some, they playing with some food. They spooky as hell with that.
Fighting us with.
But there's some shit that our ancestors probably was doing. How you think they was able to stay in communications with their ancestors? Maybe they was already doing that.
Quite a good look at a lot of people that passed away thousands of years ago. And it's, who knows? I mean, I just read an article the other day where they found the remains of an individual that had enough tissue left that they could approximate how he talked. We'll talk a little bit about that in the future. And they were.
Yeah, I heard that, right?
Just read an article the other day where they found the remains of an individual that had enough tissue left that they could approximate how he talked. We'll talk a little bit about that in the future. And they were.
How y'all gonna figure out how he talked unless y'all heard how he talked? Did y'all find a recording, an ancient recording device of the Aboriginals that y'all ain't telling us about? Because I know it's some shit that y'all got that y'all ain't telling us about. So I'm gonna go ahead and tell y'all about it. They probably found some secret device. You understand me? They done probably found some secret device, everybody, that they are recording the ancient peoples of America was using to record themselves. This is what we're gonna get into a bill. Me and High School gonna do. We got something for y'all. Cause these are zombie archaeologists.
To actually reproduce sounds from his voice, and they made this person talk, which is kind of scary. It makes you wonder what are they gonna do in the future. They'll probably completely reconstruct the individual, and we'll get an approximation, which might be kind of cool. You know, wow. That's just, the thought of that's pretty amazing. So check it out, Facebook.
So they trying to reconstruct ancient motherfuckers now. So y'all trying to y'all gonna fuck around, bring back Montezuma and Tupac Amaru if you want to. Y'all ass is gonna be Swiss cheese, nigga, on the dead homies. Fuck around, bring back Chief Cornstalk on y'all bitch ass. Yeah, fuck around, bring back Chief Cornstalk.
Earth Ancients, go to the group page. And it's all there for you to check out. So that's what we're all about. Hey, it's getting to be that time of year where it's time to make plans for trips to, what are they going to do in the future? They'll probably completely reconstruct the individual, and we'll get an approximation, which might be kind of cool. You know, wow, that's just, the thought of that's pretty amazing. So check it out, Facebook. On the show before with Ancient Mysteries International, and he does some fantastic tours into Indonesia. Bruce, how you doing today?
Hey there, Cliff. Doing real well.
Great. Glad to have you with us. Hey, tell us about this.
Hey, make sure y'all hit that like button, man. We're gonna try to get 100 people in here before the 30-minute marker. The only way to do that, we get all 88 people in here watching this to share the live stream. We need everybody to share the live stream, each and every one of you guys. I appreciate all the support. Drop them fire emojis in the chat if y'all can hear the audio loud and clear. If y'all want to support the channel, cash out tags at the bottom right of the screen. So let's get back into this fire ass bill that we got lined up. Let's go.
Tour that you're putting together. I'm interested in learning more.
Okay, basically, it's part of the op.
Fuck cuz tour. We don't want to hear it.
Basically, once you're there, it's.
We don't want to hear about cuz tour.
Love to see some video of that. So hopefully you can get some of that to us after.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Dr. Carmen will be doing all the video for her new series, The New Atlantis, and James Swagger is going to be live streaming the conference itself. So yes, it should be really cool.
Sounds good, Bruce. Sounds like a good one. Well, hey,
yes,
good luck with
we need to get Cliff Dunning there, though. I know that.
I think I'm going to be in Mexico actually, and but we'll talk about it. We'll see. I definitely going to get out there.
We're definitely going to get.
We had Danny on last week, so Danny was talking about the pyramids there, and of course you have the wonderful Gunung Penang pyramid. That's I definitely got to check it out. So
yes, for sure. Yeah, Danny Irwanto will also be part of the group that's at the symposium in Angkor.
Good deal.
Oh, yeah.
All right,
quite
Bruce.
Amazing.
All right. Sounds like a great program. Thank you.
All right. Talk to you later, Cliff. Thanks.
Bye. Yeah, that sounds like a really good program. I think I've announced that I'm going to be in Mexico the latter part of April. So sounds like a good one.
Hey man, y'all noticed the Wake and Bake show, man. So let me know where y'all at, what city and state y'all in, what y'all smoking on this Grand Rising, man. On this Wake and Bake show, man. Let me know. Talk to me. Let's get it.
Yeah, we talk a great deal about ancient America on this program, and we have had.
We talk a good deal about ancient America. I bet you fuckers do. The Smithsonians would have never been existed if they didn't come to America and start finding shit in the mound. Archaeological advancements would have never been opposed to modern day society without Aboriginal without people coming and looking at Aboriginal American artifacts. Nigga, we done set the tone for the whole world. We've been all eyes been on us since the beginning. We've been molding and shaping the way everything goes. When you look around all these ancient civilizations around the world and you pick one, and then I tell you, and I'll be able to go into the culture and be able to find fingerprints from the Americas. And that's just a fact. And this is a crime scene because the government has been destroying and hiding evidence. So we got to work extra hard just to bring out this fire, man. So shout out to everybody in the chat, man. Let's get this.
Of April. So sounds like a good one. Yeah, we talk a great deal about ancient America
I bet
on
you
this
do.
program.
Hockey.
And we have had Native Americans talking about the migration, their ancestors' migration.
Let's try to get 100 people in here, y'all. We got like 60 seconds. Let's try to get 100.
There's just tremendous amount of speculation about who the early settlers were. This is prior to the natives that we know about. And there's a lot of evidence in the form of artifacts, in the form of structural ruins from unknown civilizations that continually are, I don't want to say suppressed, but just they're not reported by mainstream news agencies. And recently, we've had a number of individuals on this show talking about actual hard evidence. Some of these people are research investigators. We've had people talk about the Templar Knights, giants that roamed the East.
It's the Knights Templar, not the Templar Knights.
Some of these people are research investigators. We've had people talk about the Templar Knights, giants that roamed the East Coast, and now seems like they're almost in every state. There's evidence of giant human beings. But a lot of these discoveries are dated thousands of years before Columbus was even considered. And it makes you think about America, the United States that we live in, I live in, and why we don't know more about this information, why it hasn't come out with any great clarity. My guest today is Frank Joseph. We've had Frank on the show before, and I'm not sure I mentioned this, but Frank was the editor-in-chief of Ancient America magazine. And I think he still, and we'll have to ask him, he still has quite a hand on working with that publication. And he's come out with a fascinating new book called The Lost History of Ancient America, How Our Continent Was Shaped by Conquistadors or Conquerors, Influencers, and Other Visitors from Across the Ocean. I'm going to read just the beginning of this introduction, just to give you an idea of what we're going to talk about today. And this book is fascinating. And this is the introduction. This book is a breakthrough. Never before and nowhere else has so much valid evidence been assembled on behalf of overseas visitors in America before Columbus. Presentations offered here are not speculation, exaggeration, or out of context half-truth. Instead, they establish beyond question the transoceanic travelers to our continent explored and exploited its hundreds and thousands of years prior to Santa Maria's late 15th century landfall in the Bahamas. Frank, welcome to the program.
Well, thank you so much, Chris. It's a pleasure to be back here as always.
Yeah, this is a fantastic book, Frank. I want to talk to you a little bit about it. Your years at Ancient America magazine are really well focused here. You chose a number of outstanding articles as well as many of your own to comprise this book. And I have to ask you,
hit that like button, share the live stream, y'all. If y'all can share the live stream, share the live stream.
You use a term in here that I'm familiar with, known as diffusionism or diffusism. Can you talk a little bit about what that means and why it's important to understand in the context of this book?
Well, it's referred to as cultural diffusionism, and that means that it belongs to someone who concludes that the oceans of the ancient world were not barriers between continents, but rather highways that connected them. And a cultural diffusionist is someone who is opposite someone known as a cultural isolationist. A cultural isolationist says, no, maritime technology did not exist sufficiently in pre-Columbian times to enable people to sail very long distances, and as a consequence, their societies developed pretty much in isolation. But I think that this paradigm of cultural isolationism has been so thoroughly undermined that any logical thinking person presented with the evidence would have to conclude that people sailed around the world for hundreds and thousands of years before Columbus ever set sail, and that these connections formed societies that we know today. And that's why it's important. It's not just history, something that happened a long time ago we don't know anything about. What you're seeing today is the end result of these connections that have been, in many cases, subtly intertwined since really the beginning of a civilized man, or even before civilized man. We can go back all the way to the Ice Age and before and see these tremendous.
Speaking of the motherfucking Ice Age, sidebar, I was doing some research. You know, I be getting into my bag about ancient discoveries in the North America. So I'm getting into one of my bags, and I came across a cave in Canada that's solid ice, and it was man-made. It was pretty much like a giant, magnificent fucking igloo. And they said that the ice in the carvings date back to the last ice age. So what I'm saying is, damn, it was niggas in Canada living up in them areas and creating one of a large metropolis motherfucking igloo. Multi-entrances, rooms and shit. I'm talking about crazy. It's like an ice bar, man. You see what I'm saying? Make sure y'all support the channel, man. Cash App tags at the bottom right of the screen. We ain't even got started yet. We just get cracking in the build, man. We just a quarter ways in, man. So support the channel. Support the channel, man. It's very important for y'all to do that. Let's get it, man.
Connections between peoples and the beginning of a civilized man, or even before civilized man. We can go back all the way to the Ice Age and before and see these tremendous connections between peoples and continents. And just one example of that, which even mainstream scholars accept, is that more than 40,000 years ago, now we're talking an inconceivable length of time in the past, 40,000 years ago plus, it's established, it's known that peoples from Indonesia sailed across the sea to Australia. That is how Australia became populated. Australia has not been connected to any mainland for millions of years. And yet we can trace the origins of the Aboriginal peoples back to their forefathers who crossed enormous lengths, broad, vast vistas of seas in order to reach Australia. And this was done 40,000 years ago. And believe me, if the ancestors of the Australian peoples could have done this, other peoples definitely could and did do the same sorts of journeys that contributed to what we are today.
Right. Now, you open the book with probably the most solid evidence of this world travel, and that is plant crops. Can you give us a couple of examples? And as an example, I will always bring one up. There's quite a bit of evidence of ancient Egyptians using tobacco and, of course, cocaine, which is found in South America and Central America. And there's great speculation about how it got to Egypt. But you go into quite a bit of...
Y'all ready to hear a little bit of that? Y'all want to hear a little bit of that? Y'all want to hear a little bit of this? Y'all ain't ready for that. You ain't ready for that. Cocaine mummies? Huh? Pharaoh smoking backwoods? The Pharaoh was smoking backwoods? Snorting the cocaine, huh? So they was junkies in Egypt. Who was serving them? If the product come from America, who was serving them? Ancient drug dealers? What? Did we just say that? What did he say? Listen, man. This history is nothing new under the sun, is what I'm trying to tell y'all.
World travel, and that is plant crops. Can you give us a couple of examples? And as an example, I will always bring one up. There's quite a bit of evidence of ancient Egyptians using tobacco and, of course, cocaine, which is found in South America and Central America. And there's great speculation about how it got to Egypt. But you go into quite a bit of depth. Can you give us a couple of examples of plant crops that are found in areas that are not indigenous to its original growth?
I should say just before I begin here, I did not write this article. It was written by a very brilliant scholar, Dr. Carl Johansson, who has been studying this problem of finding plants that originate in various parts of the world that could not physically have transplanted themselves over great stretches of the ocean. And one of the ones that he mentions, to answer your question, is one called datura. It's called the thorn apple. It's a plant, or it's a Jimson weed. It's all the datura species. And their origins are entirely in Eurasia. They have never been found outside of this area unless they have been brought by travelers. And the Dr. Johansson has shown that this strictly Eurasian plant, thorn apple or the Jimson weed, was literally transplanted to the American Southwest about 3,000 years ago, probably a little longer ago than that. That would place the appearance of Jimson wheat entirely from Eurasia in
about 3,000 years ago. Is about 1200 BC. And at 1200 BC, y'all want me to describe what was going on in North America at 1200 BC? 1200 BC. Well, you got the construction of Poverty Point. You got Cahokia being built. You have Hopewell. You have Mound City, Alabama thriving at its heights. That's what you got going on at 3,000 years ago. You see what I'm saying? They don't be wanting to tell y'all this. You ask yourself, you think your ancestors that's in your bloodline 3,000 years ago was stupid? That if you gave them an iPhone and just did shit, you know what I'm saying, from a kid back then, you don't think they'll be able to operate that damn iPhone? They wasn't stupid, bro. They had the understanding just like you got understanding. Oftentimes, we don't even have understanding. We get implanted information from miseducation and deception. Our ancestors probably wasn't even being deceptive. They were just free thinkers, learning, intuitiveness, and innovative. Sky's the limit, literally. We got to understand that shit, man. Let's get back to this fire ass bill, man. Drop them fire emojis in the chat. If you're feeling the bill, support the channel, man. Shout out to everybody in the chat, man. We're going to continue this thing.
The southwest of the Americas, about the end of the last Bronze Age. Now, that's very important because even established mainstream scientists admit that the science of navigation had reached very high levels during the late Bronze Age, and that ships did travel very far. Of course, this is the time of the Trojan War, most famously, with its 1,000 ships. And we are seeing now the appearance. Datura isn't the only one, but Datura is the most incontrovertible example of a plant which was strictly located in Eurasia, one part of the world, which could have only been transported. No way could it have been wafted across in the air or across the sea. It had to have been moved by somebody. And it takes place at the same time that all this great seafaring is taking place. There are numerous examples, and I think that that's one reason why we wanted to include Dr. Johansson's article right in the beginning, because the arguments he brings up for these various plants, one after the other, are just incontrovertible. I mean, I would love to be able to see a critic stand up and say, no, you're wrong here, Dr. Johansson, we're not sure of this, but the evidence is actually, the rest of the book is kind of downhill from that. And the rest of the book is almost like an anecdote, because after you get past that article about Dr. Johansson's plant transference, it's like, well, of course they were here. Of course people arrived here. The most incredible thing in Dr. Johansson's article, I found personally, was the peanut. And the peanut was developed entirely in China, very localized and very small areas of China. And because it was like a gourmet crop, it was only for the king and his family, that sort of a thing. And the peanut shows, and it was developed about a very long time ago, right? The very beginning of Chinese dynastic history. You mentioned before in the introduction about these.
You gotta ask yourself, how did the Chinese get the science of this pyramid that's similar to the shit in America? We got pyramids that look like the same ones in China. And not only that, we embrace the one that talks about Kukulkan, Quetzalcoatl, that's the plumed serpent. That was first coined and oldest evidence found in America. You can go to the Levanta site. And then you have Chinese people with pyramids revering the same plumed serpent, but they call it the dragon. They do a whole parade about the dragon in the middle of their city. Is that them revering a cultural significance that they borrow? This is a question that we have to propose. You see what I'm saying? When you look at when you go into some of the pyramids, like the Dragon Pyramid in China, it has mercury in these naturally made rock formation cups that they keep in an acoustic burial room, and they load these cups, if you will, with mercury, and they go and play drums and acoustic music, and it creates this vibrational effect that they able to look at it, and it's some type of science or spiritual system behind it. And when you go to America, like Chachula, the Pyramid of the Sun, you also find those same funny rock formation couplets with the mercury in it. And they already suspect that the Pyramid of the Sun, or Chachula, right, is 80,000 years old. So, man, let's get it, man. This is a fire bill. Hopefully y'all enjoying it. Drop them fire emojis if y'all enjoying it. I'll keep it going. Drop them fire emojis. Support the channel. Let's get it.
Chinese pyramids and mounds. The pyramids in China are incredible. They approximate the size of the Great Pyramid in Egypt, and even the configuration and everything. We don't know much about them because the Chinese authorities have been very secretive about them. But what we do know is incredible. But what's amazing is these pyramids they sort of sprang into existence at the same time that all this highly advanced agriculture was also taking place in China, in that same area. And the peanut appears.
First of all, if you see large building constructions, you're guaranteed. Now listen to me, y'all. Anybody that do French research on your own and doing your own due diligence and doing your own research, if you start looking into ancient structures, once you find ancient structures, one thing you're guaranteed to find is agriculture. And that's key, because you can't build if you're not eating. If you're not eating, there's no building. Look at Africa. Hardly any eating, hardly any building. I'm just keeping it real. You see what I'm saying? So when you find these ancient structures, you're going to find agriculture. You find it all throughout America. You find these ancient structures, you find agriculture. You even go to Göbekli Tepe, right? Turkey, right? You go to Turkey and we go look at the site, Göbekli Tepe. When you find these ancient structures, you also find agriculture there as well. And that's key to everything, man. When you putting some shit together, you got to start adding up the evidence and what goes together. Everything has shit that's compatible, and then if it's like peanut butter and jelly, if you ain't got the shit ain't just gonna go right. You understand? Hit that like button, man. Let's get it.
Just a couple of centuries after it was actually invented, it was genetically configured. It appears again in the American Southwest, and there is absolutely no way that this peanut could have gotten from central China to the southwest of the North America about 4,000 years ago. I mean, that's it. Now we're talking really far back in time. We're talking about the very origins of Chinese history, and yet the peanut, which was invented in China, appears just a few centuries later in North America. So I think
how nigga that invented peanut couldn't even invent peanut butter though. But it took a nigga from an Aboriginal from America to create peanut butter. It's because they been dealing with peanuts, nigga. Where the fucking Chinese get their peanuts from? We gotta start asking real questions, man. How the fuck you been the inventor of peanuts, but you ain't create peanut butter? Like, come the fuck on, man. Nobody believe that shit. We know who the inventors of these peanuts and agriculture is, guys.
That is.
Oh, don't forget, I got the book that actually proves peanuts come from America. Don't make me pull it out.
It's astounding. Not only
don't make me pull out the African. Man, I got so many sources on that shit. Man, I'll smoke a nigga boots.
Dr. Hansen showed that this could never have been transferred by accident or natural processes, but that it appeared so long ago. That's an indication that people traveled around the globe very far back in civilized history.
Frank, why does it take so long for orthodoxy to grasp these concepts? I mean, here's solid evidence of the peanut being created in China thousands and thousands of years ago, and then it shows up in the United States and probably other parts of the world, and yet we don't really, without your book and your research, we really don't know about it. Why would you say there's just because it's just people are lazy, or that change just takes time? What do you
I think
say?
That's an excellent question, and I don't presume to be able to answer it definitively. I'm not a psychologist, but I would attribute it just to human nature. And in the long run, I believe this process is good, that there is a lot of skepticism and even suppression of evidence. There's no doubt. I've been associated with Ancient American Magazine for well over 20 years now, and I can tell you that there are concerted efforts on the part of established archaeologists to not just dismiss this evidence like this, but to actually suppress it. But that is human nature, and I think that in the long run, this is going to be very good because it will show that we have to come up with some really tough arguments. We just can't suggest in a logical way, well, the ancients had ships, so they must have been over here. We are...
Nah, nigga, we putting up the toughest argument. I ain't gotta put up no argument against no hockey that don't even understand what the fuck he looking at. Excuse my French. I am an Aboriginal. I descend from these people. I got the information. I can see this shit, have my ancestors seen it through just tapping into my memory cells. So I know what the fuck went on. I know that they was going over there selling hella bags of cocaine plant, taking hella bags of tobacco, just like how them Arabs come over here from Yemen, setting up them tobacco and smoke shops. What the fuck you think we was doing over there? Huh? We was like, hold on, we can get what for what? From who? For real. That's what was going on. So don't even trip, man. We had ancient motherfucking construction workers, nigga. They was on the road, just like you see motherfucking construction workers on the road. They live in one place, but they working in this place. Yeah, we was going all the way over there, setting up shop, man. I'm just giving y'all a vivid picture of what the fuck was really going on. And you see what I'm saying? Seriously, doctors and all, complex builders, preachers and shit. They would have been spiritual or shamans back then. But listen, nigga, preachers, nigga, you know what I mean? Listen, seriously, ain't nothing new under the sun, man. That's what I be trying to tell y'all. They ain't telling the story right. They making it seem like niggas was crawling over there with leather, Jaguar printed shit on. Oh man, niggas over there, man, regular shit today down there, man. Seriously.
Forced, because of the hostility of mainstream archaeologists, to really do our homework. And so when we publish a book like this, we better know exactly what we're talking about. So I think the process...
Bruh, it's like, man, nigga, it's like running to the plug's plug. Like everybody was the plug over this motherfucker, nigga. Like Cuz said in the chat, man, we were supplying everything, information, tobacco, vegetables, fruit. How you think all the vegetables got to Africa, man? Y'all don't even understand. Y'all don't even understand.
This is good. It is the nature of science, I think, to resist new unorthodox ideas. They are pounced upon, sometimes savagely, but in the long run,
man, nobody hit that like button. Run them likes up, man. Let's get 130 likes in the building, man. We gotta run them likes up, and we need y'all to support the channel, man. Y'all gotta support the channel. Definitely run them likes up and support the channel. If y'all enjoying the build, support the channel, man. Cash out tags at the bottom right of the screen, but definitely run them likes up, man. Share the live.
Truth always prevails. So I think it's a winnowing process. It's a good process. And I don't complain because people poo-poo these things or criticize us or call us lunatic, fringe scientists and so on. That's perfectly all right. The only thing that matters is that this information is made available to thinking people like yourself, Chris, who can have the intellectual capacity to look into these things in an unbiased fashion and draw their own conclusions. That's all we can do. But I don't presume to try to explain what's going on in the heads of these mainstream scholars. The only thing you can say is that, of course, a great number of them write their own textbooks for their students.
Yeah.
And they sell these textbooks to their students. That's part of their income. Archaeologists don't make much money unless you're a state archaeologist. Even them, they don't do that well. And so for somebody like us to stand up and say, "Oh no, your textbooks are all wrong," well, you're undermining their economic base, and so naturally they're not going to be too happy about that. But that's not important.
Right. Hey, this book, The Lost History of Ancient America, is packed full of fantastic short articles and references and material. I want to touch on a couple and get your insight into why you chose them for this book. Because this is it's quite a fun book to read. It's quick. It's a quick read, but you have a lot.
Man, need y'all to support the channel, man. Share the live stream. Share the live stream, man. Fuck with me, man. Share the live. You ain't gotta be a hater. Just share that motherfucker. Hit the like. You know what I'm saying?
A lot of great material in here. So let's start with this a unique bone that was found in Florida that has images of a woolly mammoth on it, and it's quite an eyesight for that.
Yes, it is. It's incredible. It's an actual representation, an eyewitness representation, eyewitness drawing that somebody made of a woolly mammoth. And of course, that animal became extinct about 10,000 years ago. So here we have some art, some representational art of someone who actually saw one of these creatures. That was removed.
Shout out to Paradox for the cash out donation. Yeah, shout out to my brother Paradox for supporting the field, man. At least we got one person. Hey, don't let Paradox be the only one support this motherfucker today. Shout out to Paradox for supporting. He said niggas always want the drama and not the information. Shaking my head. Hey, man, that's actually true, man. A lot of niggas actually prefer the drama and the bullshit over the information, man. But guess what? We bringing information over bullshit. Let's go.
From a lake up kind of a bog, a sinkhole type of thing in Florida. The reason why I included that particular article, even though it doesn't really deal with what we're talking about, cultural diffusionism, it shows how science forgets, and how sometimes, and I mean this really in a positive way, because everybody is ignorant to some degree, certainly myself, how ignorant scientists can be. Because when this bone was found, this engraved representation of a woolly mammoth, the scientists thought, wow, this is terrific. This is the first time anything like this has ever been found. It's a major discovery. Well, they forgot that at least 7 other drawings of woolly mammoths have been found over the past 150 years. And when these drawings were found, they were inevitably savaged by mainstream scientists saying, oh no, they're all fake. Why are they fake? Well, because they must be fake. And that's as far as the argument ever went. No one ever really studied or looked into them. Well, we did at Ancient America. We examined these drawings of these mammoths. Most of them still exist. Some of them are petroglyphs that have been found out in Arizona. And so the most amazing one was found about 7 years ago underwater in Lake Michigan, about really not too far off the shore of Indiana.
What the fuck was found off of Lake Michigan? Let's run that back.
Wow, this is terrific. This is the first time anything like this has ever been found. It's a major discovery. Well, they forgot that.
Shout out to motherfucking Big Hawk School. Tribe in the building for the supporting this goddamn $2 channel. Shout out to Big Hawk School, man. Shout out to my big brother. You already know that's gang. Shout out to Dre Cobb's music, man. He said fire bill, man. Appreciate that. I'm glad y'all enjoyed it, man. We just getting it in, man. We about halfway through this thing too. So yeah, thumb up them things and let's get it in, man. This one of the ones. That's one of the ones. Let's go.
At least 7 other drawings of woolly mammoths have been found over the past 150 years. And when these drawings were found, they were inevitably set.
Oh shit! Yeah.
Must be fake, and that's as far as the argument ever went. No one ever really studied or looked into them. Well, we did at Ancient American. We examined these drawings of these mammoths. Most of them still exist. Some of them are petroglyphs that have been found out in Arizona. And so the most amazing one was found about 7 years ago underwater in Lake Michigan, about really not too far off the shore of Indiana, I believe, by a certified archaeologist. So the reason I included that article is I wanted to show that mainstream science isn't always to be trusted, and it's a great I think story. Anyway, what I tried to do with this book was to supply, as you mentioned, brief articles, short ones, offering a great variety of material rather than just hammering away at the same thing, which can get kind of dull, I guess, repetitive. So I wanted to get as much different points of view, different aspects of this problem as possible.
Yeah, no, I mean, the book is really fun to read because you give enough content so someone really can, if they want to continue reading, they can go do a search and maybe pull up some of the reference material that you provide. I want to talk about something that fascinated me, and this is the discovery of mercury in one of the temples of Teotihuacan in Mexico, just south of Mexico City. I actually reported on this amazing discovery, but you took it one step further. The discovery was made in an excavation of the pyramid, or they call it the Temple of the Feathered Serpent, which is they're continually working on it. It's partially ruined, but they're still building it. But they dug underground, and they found quite a bit of evidence of mercury deposits underneath.
Yo, that's crazy, because I was just saying something about that. That's crazy. That's crazy. That's crazy. I ain't even listened to this bill, y'all. We listened to it for the first time together, by the way. That's why I'm reacting like this. This is my first time listening to it, too. But I know it's dealing with ancient America. But listen, yo, that's crazy. I was just explaining the mercury. You see what I'm saying? Like, listen, man.
The actual pyramid. Can you talk a little bit about what you just...
And if you go back and watch some of my older bills, I actually did shit on this a while ago, man. No cap.
Covered in, and I think it was fascinating. You actually described how they created mercury.
Well, mercury is, of course, a dangerous thing to work with. It's extremely poisonous. And it was a shock to archaeologists, Mexican archaeologists, when they were in a place called Teotihuacan, which is the largest of all of the ancient cities in the Americas. Just absolutely gigantic. It was once believed there were 300,000 people that lived there, and now it's believed there are upwards of 500,000 people. Imagine that, 500,000 people into an organized state. We're talking about, anywhere from 2,000 or more years ago up to about maybe 1,000 or so years ago. And the center of Teotihuacan is...
Did y'all hear that, man? Let me run that back, man. That's why I've been trying to tell niggas, man. And I can go in on Teotihuacan a little more, man, because there's a lot of history about it. He don't even know that shit go back 80,000 years, though. So he ain't going to bring that out. Shout out to Leonardo for the cash out donation. He said, peace, family. Hey, Leonardo said, peace, y'all. Y'all say peace back to my brother Leonardo. Shout out to the brother for the cash out donation, man. Let's keep it going, y'all.
Underground, and they found quite a bit of evidence of mercury deposits underneath the actual pyramid. Can you talk a little bit about what you discovered? And I think it was fascinating. You actually described how they created mercury.
Well, Well, mercury is, of course, a dangerous thing to work with. It's extremely poisonous. And it was a shock to archaeologists, Mexican archaeologists, when they were in a place called Teotihuacan, which is the largest of all of the ancient cities in the Americas. Just absolutely gigantic. It was once believed there were 300,000 people that lived there, and now it's believed that upwards of 500,000 people. Imagine that, 500,000 people into an organized state. We're talking about, anywhere from 2,000 or more years ago up to about maybe 1,000 or so years ago. And the center of Teotihuacan is the Avenue of the Dead, as it's referred to. And along the avenue down this tremendously huge and impressive boulevard. To walk down it is fabulous. This stone boulevard. There are pyramids on either side. And 3 of them predominate. One is the Pyramid of the Sun, which is absolutely gigantic, made out of very difficult to work lava stone, terrific masterpiece. Then there's the Pyramid of the Sun, of the Moon rather, which is somewhat smaller, also magnificent. And then there's the Pyramid of Quetzalcoatl, the Pyramid of the Feathered Serpent. Now, the Feathered Serpent is a figure that permeates all of pre-Columbian cultures south of the Rio Grande. And he is regarded as the founding father of civilization in the Americas by the ancients. He's portrayed in myth, and in not just in myth, but in their histories. There's a Mayan history called the Popol Vuh, the Book of Counsel, which describes the feathered serpent. He's called the feathered serpent because of the headgear that he wore, which suggests an Egyptian pharaoh, because the headwear that he wore was a feathered serpent. Well, that's exactly what the uraeus was. The uraeus was the royal garment, headgear rather, of Pharaoh, which showed a feathered serpent. And
the feathered serpent of a pharaoh. Listen, they revered us. When we get into who really established Egypt, and you're going to understand why is the first dynasty, the pre-dynastic dynasty who established the rulership of Egypt is not have no records. After the people who came after them destroyed all the records. You'll understand that these people hated these foreign people who came here to establish this great city. And these foreign people to that particular land would have been the ancient Americans that went over there to that region, man. That's what we're trying to tell you. Go look at the Algonquin conquest to Tamari. Go look up the book. Ancient Algonquin conquest to Tamari and Mauritania. Go look it up. It talks about them going over there and settling and bringing in the science.
Qualo is described as this tall, fair-haired, fair-skinned, light-eyed man who arrived after a terrific catastrophe at sea with his followers and family, and they brought the high technology of this former kingdom that he wore Mayan history called the Popol Vuh.
Let's get into it, man. Let me run this back a little bit because he getting into a whole other bag. I'm gonna need y'all to hit that like button and thumb up the video. This is my favorite part. He talking about the Popol Vuh. You know what I'm saying? He talking about Quetzalcoatl. He talking about leaving and bringing ancient science. Hey, this nigga, hey, drop that shit, white boy. Hey, they said white boy, you can't jump, goddamn.
And he is regarded as the founding father of civilization in the Americas by the ancients. He's portrayed in myth, and in not just in myth, but in their histories. There's a Mayan history called the Popol Vuh, the Book of Counsel, which describes the feathered serpent. He's called the feathered serpent because of the headgear that he wore, which suggests an Egyptian pharaoh, because the headwear that he wore was a feathered serpent. Well, that's exactly what the uraeus was. The uraeus was the royal garment, headgear rather, of Pharaoh, which showed a feathered serpent. And Quetzalcoatl is described as this tall, fair-haired, fair-skinned, light-eyed man who arrived after a terrific catastrophe at sea with him.
See, listen, when they describe it, Quetzalcoatl, I'm gonna give you a primary document of Quetzalcoatl. I'm gonna give them to you in full memorabilia, and I'm gonna give it to you in regular good. Okay, These are both images of Quetzalcoatl from the Popol Vuh. These are actual screenshots from the Popol Vuh, actual documentation, primary. All right, so that's him. Take a good look at him right there. That's him. That's Quetzalcoatl. Look at him. That's who he's describing. And if you zoom in on this, take a screenshot and zoom in, you'll see his eyes is fair skin. And look who he's holding up, a Mongoloid or what, an Asian. Why do you think he was holding up an Asian, but then you see an Asian connection with America? Like, we got to really start thinking about it. Then we're going to look at this next one, which is from the Popol Vuh as well. That's him also with the spear in his hand. And this comes from a later date, but this is still Quetzalcoatl. Look at him. This is facts. This is facts. So we don't look at his feet. Fair skin, light skin, but you know he dark because he been in the sun. He's a king. He probably sitting on top of one of them big ass pyramids. The sun beaming on his motherfucking ass. Listen, and he got these Mongoloid concubine and workers in front of him. Man, we dropping that heat today, man. We dropping that heat today. If y'all fuck with the bill, man, drop them fire emojis and support the channel. Support the channel. So these are two primary images of Quetzalcoatl. I just want to keep that in mind as we finish this bill, man. All right.
Headgear, rather, of Pharaoh, which showed a feathered serpent. And Quetzalcoatl is described as this tall, fair-haired, fair-skinned, light-eyed man who arrived after a terrific catastrophe at sea with his followers and family. And they brought the high technology of this former kingdom that he sailed away from and interworked with the native peoples to create Mesoamerican civilization. And his chief pyramid there in Teotihuacan is a masterpiece in itself, but it's been found underneath are these artificial man-made rivers of liquid mercury. Mm-hmm. Why on earth would anybody go to the enormous trouble of working with this dangerous and, for the most part, unseen commodity? The pyramids contain many mysteries. Now, liquid mercury is part of it.
Shout out to Enox in the building, man. Shout out to Enox in the building for supporting the $2 challenge. He said, your content hits hard. I'm proud to be an Aboriginal, man. That's a beautiful thing to hear, man. Shout out to you. Shout out to you, man. So when we first started dropping this shit, people didn't even know what an Aboriginal was. You know what I'm saying? They thought it was a gimmick. You know what I'm saying? They thought it was a fluke. We had to come with that heat, man. You know what I mean? Shout out to everybody in the chat, man. Make sure y'all support the channel. Share the live stream. If you're new to this, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Let's continue.
Pyramid there in Teotihuacan is a masterpiece in itself, but it's been found underneath are these artificial man-made rivers of liquid mercury. Mm-hmm. Why on earth would anybody go to the enormous trouble of working with this dangerous and, for the most part, unseen commodity? The pyramids contain many mysteries. Now, liquid mercury is part of it. In the pyramid, right across the Avenue of the Dead from the pyramid of Quetzalcoatl, was found these enormous thin flakes of mica that had been transported at great difficulty in the ancient times all the way from Brazil. And why would, again, people go to the trouble of including something like that in an area that would not be seen, by the way? This was not used for ceremonial purposes that can be understood. No one had access to either the liquid mercury or these enormous wafers of mica. Well, both of these commodities, if you want to refer to them as that, the liquid mercury and the mica, they have electrical properties. And that liquid mercury and especially crystals are used on electronic technology today. Exactly. That would seem that they had some kind of a knowledge, some kind of a basic fundamental grasp of the properties of electricity. What exactly they use this for, That does not appear that they wanted to illuminate anything, but perhaps to create some kind of magical effects. But nonetheless, it shows that these Maya engineers did grasp the fundamentals of electricity, because there seems to be no other possible explanation why you would go to the trouble of including this rather dangerous material in regards to the liquid mercury, unless there was some kind of electronic property involved. And the article goes and discusses that, at least poses this question for others to take up.
Yeah, it's just a fascinating discovery, and I've known about it since they uncovered it. It shocked the Mexican scientists as to why this sophisticated liquid would be found underneath this pyramid, and it makes you wonder: is there other pyramids that have this quantity underneath it? You mentioned that the article writes.
Yeah, these honkies don't even know what the fuck the goddamn mercury is for. These niggas don't even know what the fuck the mercury is for up under there. I just told y'all why it's for. What it's for. I just told y'all what the fuck it was for.
Discusses how mercury is made, and can you talk a little bit about that, because I think that's kind of interesting, how they made mercury.
Well, as I recall, there are different ways that. Pardon me?
Wasn't it cinnabar or something that they melted or something that they created mercury from? It was something very interesting. I wasn't familiar with it.
Right. Well, the creation of liquid mercury, the way they made it possibly, is from cinnabar, which is this material, this mineral, which is available in large quantities in Mexico. So I don't think anybody is saying that they had to import their liquid mercury from overseas. It looks as though that it was in fact made in the Valley of Mexico. However, the technology for making it maybe originated elsewhere, because another place where the liquid mercury has been found in large quantities is again in China, in Shaoxing, which is the site for the largest of the known pyramids in China. And one of the few things we do know from the Chinese archaeologists that were allowed to excavate part of it is that they did find, as they said, and I'm quoting from them, rivers of liquid mercury inside Shaoxing's Great Pyramid. Why these things were done, it's difficult to tell. The archaeologists in China speculated that the liquid mercury was used to replicate rivers in these models that supposedly exist inside Shaoxing's Great Pyramid. Apparently, there's a great model of the kingdom that ruled central China at that time, and that the liquid mercury was used to replicate lakes and rivers and things like that. But then again, it seems kind of unlikely, because liquid mercury, even to be around it, can be a poisonous affair, and certainly if it's handled, it can be lethal. So they created it from cinnabar. It's a simple process, a relatively simple process. Once it's known, it's simple, but then the technology, the technological know-how to even understand and to use this, it at least suggests a very high level of culture that.
You said the advanced technology of how to use it. Come on, man. Everything and when you start mentioning ancient America, all you hear is advanced tech, advanced this, advanced that. Like, that shit just be fire. Don't you just sit back and amuse, and don't you scratch your head and understand why the fuck mainstream history or Western education never mentions these conglomerates? They take you straight to Egyptian Sphinx, which is a knee slapper. Shout out to my brother Hawk School, once you understand that the queen of the Maya Empire named Mu constructed the Egyptian Sphinx. Hey, I'll be damned. You see what I'm saying? Yeah, that's what I'm trying to tell y'all, man. This shit be going crazy, man. This some heat, man. If y'all feeling this bill, drop them fire emoji, man. Let's get it.
Process, a relatively simple process. Once it's known, it's simple, but then the technology, the technological know-how to even understand and to use this, it at least suggests a very high level of culture that. arose in Mexico at that time.
Yeah, it's fascinating when you see something like Mercury in these pyramids. It really, I don't know if you know the work of John Burke, but before he passed away, he did a tremendous amount of scanning of pyramids in Mexico and in Egypt, and discovered that a lot of them were built over geomagnetic fields, naturally occurring pulsing fields. And he didn't correlate the two of Mercury and these fields, but I think that there is something about that. There's something to that correlation, and we don't know how many of this pyramid culture of the Maya, and then now we know the Chinese were, earlier in their history were a pyramid culture. If they were built for conducting energy, for generating some kind of energy, we have no clue. But it's a lost science that's fascinating to discover, and be great to know that they had electricity, because it changes our whole understanding.
Hey, Kemet Warrior, you always in my chat, so how am I pseudo? I don't go watch you weird ass niggas like Garfield and rest of you Pan African butt fuckers. Nobody listens to y'all, man. Y'all niggas lame. We ended y'all career, so yeah, man, just lay down and lick your nuts, little dude.
Ending of the ancient past, so.
Well, there is a suggestion why they may have used electricity, and it wasn't to, like I said, to illuminate their streets or anything like that. There was a British archaeologist by the name of Paul McCartney, not the Beatle, but Paul McCartney back in the 1960s. He also did a survey similar to the one that Burke did, and what he did is he made an exhaustive study of all of the known megaliths in Britain and in Western Europe, and of course there are thousands of them. And he did a correlation of these megaliths and their positions. And what he found were two interesting things. One, virtually all, if not all, of the megaliths that were made, of course these are referred to as Stone Age structures, like Stonehenge and so on, all of them, so far as he was able to determine, had large veins of quartz in them. Most of them were made of granite, and granite itself has a lot of crystalline properties. They either had large veins of quartz in them, or else they were quartz. The other thing is that these structures were all directly over fault zones. Some of them, like Karnak, were actually inserted, and this is in Brittany and Western France, were actually inserted into the fault zone. So there seems to be some kind of a relationship between quartz and tectonic forces, because if you squeeze quartz, if you exert mechanical pressure on quartz, you have a phenomenon known as piezoelectricity. This is the origins of our old radio sets, where
Hold on. This nigga just said the Aborigines were squeezing this type of shit and creating electricity, so they added pressure to it out of these crystal quartz to create electricity. Man, this some advanced shit, man. This some shit that you heard about in Atlantis. Oh, wait. They said that America is Atlantis. Damn. They said this shit was a great civilization. Man, let's finish the rest of this.
Most of them were made of granite, and granite itself has a lot of crystalline properties. They either had large veins of quartz in them, or else they were quartz. The other thing is that these structures were all directly over fault zones. Some of them, like Karnak, were actually inserted, and this is in Brittany and Western France, were actually inserted into the fault zone. So there seems to be some kind of a relationship between quartz and tectonic forces, because if you squeeze quartz, if you exert mechanical pressure on quartz, you have a phenomenon known as piezoelectricity. This is the origins of our old radio sets, where when you would turn the dial on the old radio sets in the 1920s, what that dial was inside the radio was just a little vise, and that vise put pressure on a crystal, a quartz crystal, which sparked and caused the radio to turn on. It's the same like today, these fire starters, these fire sticks, where you click them. When there's a click, there's a trigger that bangs into a little quartz crystal, which starts the fire. So it appears that these structures, this is just kind of speculation, we don't know for sure, but the evidence kind of suggests that both the megaliths in Western Europe and the liquid mercury with its crystalline wafers of mica produce some kind of a relationship with the tectonic forces at work underneath them.
Hold on, they create an electrical, spiritual atmosphere, electrical atmosphere using crystal PC electricity and some type of effect with the liquid metal. Oh my God. This shit is magnificent, man. Y'all ain't even listening to this shit, man. Share the live stream. Make sure y'all support the channel, man. If y'all want to support the channel, Cash App tags at the bottom right of the screen, man. If y'all want to send it through PayPal, that'll be at the bottom of the screen, ticking across right now. Make sure y'all support the channel, man. I need each and every one of you guys in it that's watching this to share the live stream. All you gotta do is just share it to Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Facebook. You know what I'm saying? Snapchat, man. MySpace, what you old ass niggas. LimeWire, what you some of you old ass niggas. You know what I'm saying? Sure, you got it.
When you do that, you create something called the Andes glow. I don't want to get too much far afield in this, but
yeah,
when you create these kind of electrical fields, they produce huge amounts of negative ions. And if you step into one of these fields of negative ions, you go through a kind of a psychological altered state of consciousness. It's used in anesthesia today. Negative ion therapy anesthesia is used for patients in hospitals that are resistant to normal forms of anesthesia, and it creates a serenity. People have dreams about angels and things like that. So it's possible that these induced fields of negative ions were used to create spiritual.
These niggas just said they created a mood chamber. That shit how you ass thinking of unicorns and you in heaven when you go to sleep. Like, what? These niggas created a mood chamber? That's crazy.
State of consciousness. It's used in anesthesia, huge amounts of negative ions. And if you step into one of these fields of negative ions, you go through a kind of a psychological altered state of consciousness. It's used in anesthesia today. Negative ion therapy.
Did y'all hear that? Y'all, let's run that back, man. I ain't gonna say shit. Just listen. They just said that these niggas created a mood chamber. So when you step in, the electrical atmosphere that connects with your fucking body, creating some hypnosis shit. That, man, come on, yeah. These are some advanced shit.
One of these fields of negative ions, you go through a kind of a psychological altered state of consciousness. It's used in anesthesia today. Negative ion therapy anesthesia is used for patients in hospitals that are resistant to normal forms of anesthesia, and it creates a serenity. People have dreams about angels and things like that. So it's possible that these.
Hey, Erica Grancel, you probably right. It was all that. You know what I'm saying? All that. You know what I'm saying? And one. You feel me?
Induced fields of negative ions were used to create a spiritual atmosphere or put people in a conducive mood. That's very possible. That's why they were
fascinating. Yeah, we just don't know.
And then just to heighten it, you already know how a nigga get when you hear a good beat and some music, some chanting. You see what I'm saying? You hear them drums and that shit in acoustic barrier hitting that frequency. You know what I'm saying? It's hitting that frequency. Come on, man.
We turn back to the States, and there's a really interesting article about a discovery made underneath Wisconsin Lake in 2011. A number of stones were.
Hold on, what was found at Wisconsin? Man, if y'all ready to get to the rest of this bill, man, drop them fire emojis now and run them likes up. Run them likes up right now. I ain't gonna hit the play button until we get like 10 more likes. Y'all gotta support the channel, man. Fuck that. I'll light up this backwood and chop it up with y'all motherfuckers. Start roasting niggas out the chat or something. Yeah, man, run them likes up. Run them motherfucking likes up, man. Shout out to all the American Aborigines in here, man. Make sure y'all share the live stream, support the channel, man. Shout out to Shamel Thompson in this motherfucker. I see you. Let's get it.
There's a really interesting article about a discovery made underneath Wisconsin Lake in 2011. A number of stones were discovered that made up what appears to be foundations. Can you talk a little bit about that?
There have been several lakes in Wisconsin that have yielded some really interesting archaeological finds, because to be underwater, they had to be there. They had to be made a very long time ago. One of the more interesting ones is in southern Wisconsin, a place called Rock Lake. Rock Lake is located between Madison and Milwaukee, and more towards Madison. And actually, going way back to the 19th century, early pioneers heard from local Native Americans, the Sioux in that area, who talked about a village at the bottom of the lake. And sometime around the turn of the 20th century, when lake levels were very low because of a prolonged drought in the area, people claim to have actually seen these pyramidal stone structures at the bottom of Rock Lake. And ever since then, professionals and amateurs alike have been looking for these structures. And it turns out that a number of them have been seen and found, and it is pretty well verified that there are these stone pyramidal structures at the bottom of this lake in southern Wisconsin. No one knows who built these things, when or why, but the Native Americans in the area attribute them to outsiders who came long ago. It's a fascinating discovery that needs to be more further exploited. Local archaeologists will admit, at least privately, that these structures exist, but it's very costly to go and examine them. Underwater archaeology is like triple the costs of archaeology on land.
Right.
So the lake also is very turbid. It's not a very large lake. It's only like about 40 feet deep, maybe 3/4 of a mile across and a little more than a mile long. But like most lakes in the upper Midwest, they're very turbid. Underwater conditions are not at all clear. Mm-hmm. But so when conditions do clear up from time to time, these things are seen and have been photographed. So
there's no carbon dating that's been done in any of the area close to these foundations.
Right. There has been carbon dating done to an area only less than 3 miles away from Rock Lake. There is a major ceremonial center called Aztlan, and this was until fairly recently, until about 700 years ago, this was a true city. Had 3 encircling palisaded walls with watchtowers, had 3 pyramids. The number 3.
They pretty much tell you it's a place in Wisconsin that was a huge city that got took up underwater. Damn, what happened to Atlantis? Oh yeah, that's right. They got took out and up underwater. So listen, man, let's continue this crazy ass bill, man. This nigga dropping that motherfucking heat today.
And this was until fairly recently, until about 700 years ago, this was a true city. Had 3 encircling palisaded walls with watchtowers, had 3 pyramids. The number 3 was repeated throughout this site, Aztlan. It was something represented like about 50 square acres. The people there grew outstanding crops. The pyramids there, one is called the Pyramid of the Sun, like the one in Mexico. The reason it's called that is because it was oriented to sunrise on the winter solstice. So these were kind of like...
these niggas had astronomical science as well in North America, Wisconsin. Let's get to the carbon dating. He said He said they carbon dated. I want to see how old this shit is. Let's get to it.
The archaeoastronomer's dream. They really had a fabulous amount of orientation to various celestial phenomena. The other one is the Pyramid of Venus because it's oriented to the rise of the morning star. And that place, Aztlan, is dated from about 1200 AD, maybe about 700 or 800 years ago.
1200 AD is about 800 years ago, 800 years ago. So you had all these great, magnificent cities long before the honky got here, but nobody know about them. Did they have buildings there? He just said, yeah, it was a building, it was a pyramid here, a pyramid. He said they had buildings and shit, and they had ceremonial centers, and they had pyramids. Come on, man. Come on, man. If y'all feeling this bill, y'all gotta drop the fire emoji. I swear to God, I'll end this motherfucker right now. Y'all, if y'all ain't feeling this type of information, y'all got to be wild. This is science, man. This is what grandma, great, great, grandma's, grandma, great grandma was doing, nigga. 800 years ago ain't that long ago. You feel me? And let's continue.
That's kind of a mystery there because the people that lived there for all those centuries, they suddenly evacuated it and burned the entire place to the ground. They incinerated it. And how the relationship might be between Aztlan and the pyramids of the lake, no one has been able to know for sure. But the pyramids of the lake must have been made long before 1200 AD because lake levels, in order to accommodate the building of structures that are now 20 and 40 feet underwater, had to have been taken place thousands of years ago, not so hundreds of years ago. So we presume that the people that built Aztlan were aware of those structures in the lake, and perhaps because they regarded it as sacred, decided to build their city there.
No, I mean, the basis of your great work on this magazine and the articles in there, Ancient America, is just the continual evidence of very early civilizations in what we now call the United States. And for years it was just, well, maybe someone showed up like the Vikings and then took off again. Well, no, you've shown that there's evidence of very advanced, very old, thousands and thousands of years before Columbus, civilizations here in what is now the United States. And I just continually are fascinated. And this is why this book, The Lost History of Ancient America, is fascinating for those of you who are living here in the States and are curious about its early discovery and early settlements. It's fascinating.
These structures that are in Rock Lake, by the way, they do resemble a type of pyramidal structure that's kind of unique outside of Egypt. And these are not the pyramids that we're mostly familiar with, the Great Pyramid and so forth. If we go south of Giza, or the Giza Plateau, where the pyramids are mostly, you go to a place called Nubia. It was called Nubia long ago. It's Sudan today. And they developed there a kind of a pyramid which was unlike a pyramid found anyplace else. It was very steep-sided. They were much smaller than the Great Pyramids of Egypt, but they were very beautiful and lovely, and they were obviously influenced a lot by Egyptian style, but nonetheless, they're very steep-sided. They look almost like obelisks. Well, those are the structures, strangely enough, that are seen at the bottom of Rock Lake in Wisconsin. So is it conceivable that people from the ancient Sudan or Nubia have some kind of connection with Wisconsin so long ago? Again, we think about the Native American local tradition, which talks about these foreigners that arrived with this high technology and built the city of the dead, as they refer to it. They call it an acropolis. The Native Americans there are quite open about Rock Lake being a highly sacred body of water because of its city of the dead of the
And them Native Americans don't know what the fuck they talking about. Stupid motherfuckers.
Out of a lake. So they're
It's like talking to a Mexican.
There's that correlation again between other parts of the world. That admitted.
Sometimes I'll be like, is you a Mexican or you a Native American? Nigga, you the same. It's a trick question, stupid ass nigga.
Is something that I don't touch upon too much in the book because it is pretty speculative. What I tried to do in the Lost History of Ancient America was to concentrate mostly on those pieces of hard evidence that we can say, yes, this is inescapable evidence. The other thing, the other article we have, as a matter of fact, the very first article is about the horse in America. And this brilliant piece of workmanship that has been done by our contributor there, it shows that the DNA evidence, the genetic evidence shows that the horse was introduced to America long before Columbus. The fellow involved in this is Dr. Stephen E. Jones, who is an absolute expert, the top world-class expert in animal DNA comparisons. And his brief article makes it absolutely clear that there were various introductions of the horse over time. The most recent introduction of the horse was by the Vikings, the Norse, in the sometime in the 13th or 14th century. And then, but it was introduced long before then in other parts of America. So the horse is not something that was introduced only by the Spaniards 500 or so years ago. And that's also an indication that people weren't just shipwrecked here. They came here and they had intention of staying here and developing this place, and they did to a large extent. The big lesson that comes, I think, from the past that's applicable to us today is that these other high cultures rose and fell long before we were here, and that we don't have any kind of a special lease on history, that we are just the most recent example of a high culture that has been in North America. I think that's a great cautionary tale, because the question is, well, what happened to these cultures that were also high, these great civilizations that rose?
Good question. Yeah, that's what we asked the nigga. Where the fuck is our ancestors shit at? Where's all the shit at? Where's all the advanced shit? Where's the documents? You know what I'm saying? That's what the fuck we saying, nigga.
So, what mistakes did they make? Did they just get old and die out, or did they make some error or some fundamental?
Or did some fucking foreigners come here and misclassify them and call them something else? Have you ever thought about that, honky? Excuse my friend. Talk about what happened to them. Nigga, have you ever thought about foreigners coming to a land that's not theirs, claiming it's theirs, and then misclassifying indigenous people, putting them in poverty? Like, come on, man. What the fuck?
And if so, what errors might we make so that 2,000 or 1,000 years from now, people will say, well, maybe there was a United States of America, maybe there wasn't. You know, there'll be the same kind of speculative question. Do we want to end up like that, totally forgotten, or else regarded as entirely legendary? So I think there's a lot more to think about than just plain history here. The comparison with our time, I think, is vital.
Hold on, give me a second.
Earliest
legendary. So I think there's a lot more to think about than just plain history here. The comparison with our time, I think, is vital.
What do you say is the earliest evidence of culture, sophisticated culture in the United States? Would you say 2,000 years, 4,000 years? How far back would you comfortably say advanced culture was here in the United States?
That's a good fucking question. Damn, that's a good question. I want to see this honky answer before I give him my answer, because I want to see how this honky answers. Let's go.
This is something that I actually don't touch on in this book. I'm bringing up in another earlier book I wrote. It's called Before Atlantis.
Let's run it back, because just in case y'all didn't hear the question.
Would you comfortably say advanced culture was here in the United States?
This is something that I actually don't touch on in this book. I'm bringing up in another earlier book I wrote. It's called Before Atlantis. And the evidence there is absolutely mind-blowing.
Whoa, this nigga got a book called Before Atlantis? Oh, yeah, I gotta get this book. Hey, somebody go get that book right now in the chat. Download that bitch. Find the PDF. Send that bitch to me. If the live ended, go in the comment section. Leave that bitch in the comment section. And I mean, at me, goddamn. Tag me, nigga. Make sure y'all get that book.
Just evidence of culture, sophisticated culture in the United States. Would you say 2,000 years, 4,000 years? How far back
said,
could you?
how old is sophisticated culture in the United States? He didn't say in the Americas, nigga. He said in the United States. That's crazy right there.
Comfortably say advanced culture was here in the United States?
This is something that I actually don't touch on in this book. I'm bringing up in another earlier book I wrote. It's called Before Atlantis. And the evidence there is absolutely mind-blowing. It is so radical that most people don't touch it, but the physical evidence for it cannot be explained away. So if our listeners are not willing to accept this, I can completely sympathize with them, because I found it very difficult to accept until I listened to it.
Uh-oh, this is about to be a crazy number, y'all. Drum roll. Drum roll. Boom, boom, boom. Y'all motherfucking drum roll, man. This shit about to be crazy. I'm ready to hear this number.
In Nevada, there is a sierra. There is a high plateau. It's been studied by geologists for a very long time. And the reason why is because this plateau has some very level...
Chief, he said Nevada, cuz. Chief, he said Nevada, cuz. You out there, you might have to go to this ancient site, bruh. We need an archaeologist. We need an archaeologist on site. Nigga, and you in Nevada, nigga. Let's get it.
In Nevada, there is a sierra. There is a high plateau. It's been studied by geologists for a very long time. And the reason why is because this plateau has some very level stratigraphy, and they're able to dig down into the past very confidently and show that hundreds of thousands and millions of years ago, these various strata were laid down in relatively peaceful conditions. And so the geologists know the past of this sierra in Nevada. In one strata of this geological pancake that was being peeled away, must be 40 years ago now, more than 40 years ago, was found a number of mortars and pestles, quite a large number. Now, what are mortars and pestles? Mortars and pestles they're like stone bowls, beautifully carved out, and pestle is something where you grind something up. It's like you see the representations of it in a druggist's shop today. Where they would take the old bowl and they would mix up something, herbs and things like that. And some of the pestles they found in the Sierra, the Nevada Sierra, were very beautifully, actually all of them very beautifully made, especially the pestles, the handles that you use to grind up things. Well, the problem is, first of all, they could identify it with no culture known in that area whatsoever. It did look very Near Eastern, but that's about all. But the thing that they knew for sure, without a shadow of a doubt, that these mortars and pestles by the dozens, maybe more, but at least by the dozens, go back 9 million years.
Whoa, what the fuck? 9 million years? He said the evidence is unrefutable. You cannot explain it away. That advanced culture was in the United States, Nevada. Las Vegas area, right? 9 million years ago. OMG.
Stones, the handles that you use to grind up the wool, and they would mix up something, herbs. Well, the problem is, first of all, they could identify it with no culture known in that area whatsoever. It did look very Near Eastern, but that's about all. But the thing that they knew for sure, without a shadow of a doubt, that these mortars and pestles by the dozens.
Without a shadow of a fucking doubt, he said.
Maybe more, but at least by the dozens. Go back 9 million years. Now, how is that possible? Because our species evolved less than, maybe 2 million years ago. Modern man really...
No, nigga. Einstein said that your motherfucking culture evolved 2 million years ago. Big Al and motherfucking Supreme Chief Holiday and A1 say that we've been here since the beginning of fucking time. That's a fact. 9 million though? Come on, yeah. 9 million. Chief, you want to say something real quick before we continue?
Man, peace to God, man. How you feeling, brother?
Man, we know another one.
Said like Khaled and another one. Sheesh. Man, shout out to Frank Joseph, man. He be going in, man. Just did a video on him about a week ago, man.
Yeah, Frank.
He was breaking stuff down. In 97, the video was done in 97, we showed, right? And he was in a group of Aborigines, and he was breaking shit down. He's like, hey, look, this is amazing. Why are they hiding this? This is going to come out. He said this in 97. The book he's talking about before Atlantis is 2013, G. Damn near 20 years ago. Yeah. So this particular pale skin has been doing this damn near 40 years.
Yeah, man, let's get it, man. This nigga be going in. This honky be going in, man. You got to expect a good honky to go in and bring out the information that most of these uniformitarian archaeologists try to hide and keep in conception to fit their mainstream narrative. But hey, this is what we call going against the grain with undisputable, without a shadow of a doubt, evidence of 9 million year old ancient civilization. Let's continue.
In years.
Hey, real quick though, Ab, this was published in the 1800s. It's just been covered up. So I just wanted to point that out. This information about North America has been covered up. So they've already published this, whatever. So a lot of this information is going to be coming out. It's going to be in our pay-per-views, as well as our movie that's coming out at the end of the year, you guys. First Americans. I mean, y'all, it's just going down, man. I'm going to let y'all to know. We're gonna bust y'all head wide the fuck open to the white people.
Told, bro. I'm trying to tell you, it's the greatest lie ever told.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get it.
Without a shadow of a doubt that these mortars and pestles by the dozens, maybe more, but at least by the dozens, go back 9 million years. Now, how is that possible? Because our species evolved less than, maybe 2 million years ago. Modern man really, what you and I are, we really only date to maybe, 50,000 years.
Yeah.
And here you have evidence for beautifully made mortars and pestles that are 9 million years old. How is that explained? And it's in North America. It has never been explained. It has never been touched. The evidence is still there. A few have discussed it. No one has been able to dismiss it. And that's not the only one. There are others, but I don't, like I say, address them in this book. But that is the oldest that I was able to find for evidence in North America. And in places in South America, you find things at least as old. And they are found by sometimes mainstream archaeologists like Louis Ameghino. Ameghino has a crater on the moon named after him. He was Argentina's greatest anthropologist. He found things like that to go back millions of years.
Yeah.
So something is wrong.
Yeah, one of his things that he found back to go millions of years ago is a crown. It was a crown that went on a statue. It was a golden crown, and it was later found and discussed in Father Crespi's work that dates back to 15 million years, found in the mountains, high mountains of Ecuador. Okay? Listen, man, if y'all are enjoying this build, man, because I will end this motherfucker right now. Hit that like button, run up them likes, and support the channel, man. Support the channel. Cash App tags at the bottom right of the screen, man. Make sure y'all support the channel. Y'all ain't heard no shit like this from nowhere else, man. Y'all heard it here. Big Aboriginal Power platform, man. Let's get it.
Either the geology is wrong, our interpretations are wrong, who knows? But there, you ask what evidence is, and that's hard evidence. It's hard. It's not been able to have been dismissed after all this time. And when you connect it with, well, go ahead,
I was gonna say Mike Cremo has a whole book of stuff like that, where they have skeletons that are found in various sediment layers that are millions of years old, and these are modern
skeletons. Now Michael Cremore's book gets into the actual people that was around millions of years ago, and guess what? The evidence is remarkable. I'm gonna give y'all a spoiler alert. It was niggas. Spoiler alert. It was niggas. You know what I mean? So let's keep it going.
That's Homo sapiens sapiens. So
yes.
Yeah.
No, you're right. Michael Cremo has done just the most important work in this direction. Certainly not myself. I relied upon him for a lot of this great stuff. He has devoted his lifetime to showing this stuff. So if you want to go back in time, there's some real problems with our accepted understanding of human origins.
Yeah.
The earliest that we go back in the lost history of ancient America, more accessibly, is really to about where the peanut is introduced in the American Southwest. That's more than 4,000 years ago. So somebody more than 4,000, to give you an idea, 4,000 years ago, okay, it's like about 2,000, between 2,000 and 2,500 BC. This is the Middle Bronze Age. This is before Rome was founded, before Greece got going, when Egypt and Troy were the great powers and the Hittite Empire of the world. And yet somebody was here. Somebody was in North America who had this elite, at that time, gourmet crop, planting it in the American Southwest.
Let me ask you about that just for a second. Then I'm going to ask you one more question, and then that'll be.
Hey, wait, Al, can you stop it for 1 second, bro?
And I remember what.
Yeah, go ahead. You got it, brother.
4,000 years ago, bro. We're not talking the things that we could prove. We could prove 4,000 years ago. We now have to go to millions of years, but they could prove that it was an advanced civilization here in the Americas, North, South, Central, and the conjoining islands for thousands of years. That's why we built all this stuff before they had civilization there, bro. Like that, bro. Come on, y'all. What we doing, man?
Nigga, from 9 million up to 4,000 years ago, nigga, that's a great length. Nigga, that's a good run. Nigga had a good run right there, kids. Like,
so when we say that civilization was given to the world by America, and America is the true ancient world.
That's literal.
Great. This is great grandma. This is what we're saying. We have to tell you what man's from or whatever, you know what I'm saying? Y'all can have that conversation. Because now we're talking about millions. But what I think is interesting that people who identify as Pambabus, Africans, or they identify as their ancestor, as Lucy, as if she's a human person.
Listen, by the time Lucy was hurting as hell, scratching her butt in Africa, nigga, we had already was building great metal workings 7 to 6,000 years before that. 7 to 6 million years before that. My bad. Ooh, I forgot to add that million on there. That's different.
Hey, you know what I'm saying? It's gonna get ugly, man. It's gonna get ugly for him. That's all I can say, bro. Listen. He's talking about evidence of 9 to 10 million years of what he's talking about. Not evidence of human beings, but evidence of human ingenuity. Like, there's no way that what they're gonna say is, listen, you guys, they believe that monkey type people have been in the Americas for 50, 60 million years. Different types of monkey. I'm just telling y'all what these fools believe. they're going to say, well, monkey people did that. Monkey people created this. Monkey people did that because guess what, you guys? Humans, according to their theoretical and hypotheses, humans wasn't supposed to be here millions of years ago. Anatomically correct humans. So that's what they try to throw these little terms around and say, what do you mean? Like, well, what is an anatomically correct human? You see what I'm saying? So it's a lot of bullshit in their conversation. They like to use that, but just keep in mind that Lucy is not a human being.
She's a monkey. She's a monkey. She's almost a human, but she's still kind of monkey-like. She fuck around might have had her tail. We ain't for sure yet, because they only found 2 pieces of bone.
But they actually have other type of monkey people other than Lucy too, bro. That's older than Lucy in Africa, bro. So what they saying is totally false. It's totally it's taking away our answer. So and monkeys did that. It was not you guys. You guys did not build this. No way. Well, guess what? We're gonna blow your wigs off, man.
Lucy is fake, man. They try to make us some hidden. Try to say, oh, the humans came from this little lemur, and it was like a little monkey with big ass eyes and a tail. And like, man, come on, man. Nobody playing that shit. 9 million years ago, you got niggas doing metal urgery, etching and designing on these pedals. You ever seen metal pedals, man? Found 9 million years ago in Nevada.
Respect it to check it.
Like, what the fuck?
Respect it or check it.
Let's get it, man. Let's continue the live stream. Let me shout out to the brother Sham for the Cash Out donation, supporting the $1 challenge. Shout out to the brother Sham supporting the $1 challenge. We appreciate all the support. Hey, man, don't let the brother Sham be the only person support the channel, man. Y'all support the channel, man. We got 140 people in here. Make sure y'all support Big Aboriginal Power channel. We dropping heat, man. It's gonna be one of the ones.
Your boy did his. He reached his goal. I think it was last night with a fundraiser at 80,000. But this dude hit like 20,000 in an hour to reach his goal, bro. Still had 2 hours left over.
Yeah, they support Colorado City.
Hey, man. Yo, it was amazing.
Listen, Aboriginals gonna support Big Ab. It's all good. It's gonna work. When Big Ab supports, so listen, man, support the channel, man. Let's get it. Yeah, man. Shout out to everybody. Let's go.
Elite at that time gourmet crop, planting it in the American Southwest.
Let me ask you about that just for a second. Then I'm going to ask you one more question, and then that'll be it for our show. But on these peanuts, and I remember well when Jimmy Carter was the president, his brother was a peanut farmer. Maybe Jimmy was a peanut farmer. I can't remember which one was. But are peanuts naturally occurring in Georgia and in the South? They just kind of grow naturally, and then they replant them to create crops, or how did they get there? I mean, were they planted, or were they there naturally?
The peanuts that are in the United States now, of course, have long since spread all over, but they were genetically made. They're genetically programmed originally. They were crossbred. And so when they were introduced here to the United States and then recognized, especially when the pioneers pushed forward, and that's another interesting thing. Pioneers were shocked to see the peanut growing wild in the American Southwest. And because they presumed that they were the first modern people inhabiting that part of the world, and they were. Right. And yet here they're finding peanuts all over the place. So they presumed it must have been, the Spaniards must have come through here at one time, but they didn't. Spaniards had not gone through that area. So they then spread it all over, and they eventually just forgot about it and got on with other things. But nonetheless, the peanut is naturally occurring now, of course, in modern times, and is growing all over.
Man, fuck that. We know peanuts came from America. How the fuck y'all gonna try to give it to some Chinese fucks when if they created peanut butter, they would have created every fashion that came with peanuts. Nigga, they ain't create peanut butter, nigga. The fuck wrong with you? An Aboriginal nigga from America that been used to dealing with peanuts created peanut butter. So if these niggas was they created peanuts, they would have been used to creating and dealing with peanuts. Weird ass nigga. What wrong with him? Stupid ass.
Yeah. That's pretty cool. Hey, the last thing I want to talk about, and this has always been an interesting subject for me, is the crystal skulls. Now, the Maya seem to have been either the inheritors of these sophisticated skulls, or in some early generations of their people, they created these skulls. And you talk about this skull, and I'm going to call it what you described it as the Cotosi crystal skull in Mexico. Cotocoqui?
Coyolxauhqui. That's the Aztec moon goddess that was reproduced by these crystal skulls. The crystal skulls all represent the moon goddess. And the Maya called her Ixchel, the Aztecs call her Coyolxauhqui. It means the same thing. It means the white.
Coyolxauhqui or Ixchel? Damn, they called it Ixchel. How you gonna call the goddess Ixchel, man?
The Aztec moon goddess that was reproduced by these crystal skulls. The crystal skulls all represent the moon goddess. And the Maya called her Ixchel.
Listen, man, the moon goddess Ixchel goes back to the great Venus pyramid that they would tell you about is in Wisconsin. This is also in South America. They was giving praise to the matriarch. And listen, they actually sacrifice her. If y'all go type in, fuck it, I ain't gonna fuck it, I'll just show you the image that they rendition of the sacrificing of the motherfucking matriarch. Yeah, the woman on the cross for the man, y'all don't understand. This shit is deep, man. This shit is too deep, man. I ain't even gonna go that deep with y'all niggas, man, but we gonna keep this shit flaming. Y'all see that? That's the sacrifice of the matriarch. That's what they don't know, that we should do this shit.
It means the same thing. It means the white lady, and refers to the moon.
Yeah, and what's unique about him is, and I'm referring to the Mitchell Hedges.
This is a rendition of the same thing right here, man. I'm trying to tell y'all. This all breaks down into them getting rid of the matriarchal system.
His famous crystal skull that was found in Central America years ago, turn of the century. Yeah. When they flash lights into these things, there's photos and images that come up. Some of them shoot light back. Tell us a little bit about this skull and why it's unique. I've never seen it before, and I actually posted it on the Facebook page for people to look at. Go ahead.
Well, I was very privileged to be with the crystal skull several times. I knew Anna Mitchell Hedges before she passed away. She was about 103 when she passed away. So I was really fascinated by this object for quite a few years. I still am, of course. It's the most magnificent, probably the most magnificent single object I've seen in my whole life. And I've been around the world. I've seen a lot of cool stuff. But the Anna Mitchell Hedges skull is something which is beyond compare. There are a number of these crystal skulls that are out there today, and they're all interesting, but they don't compare to the high quality workmanship that went into this miraculous piece of work. Nobody knows exactly where it was found. Anna Mitchell Hedges claims it was found in Belize. That appears to be an error of some kind.
It was actually the crystal skull. I'm gonna give y'all a clue because I'll be dropping that game that they ain't gonna give you. The crystal skull was found in Skull Cave in Belize. You can only see it during certain times of the year when water levels is low, because it's now being submerged by water. But when water levels is low, you're able to see the actual crane, the cranial shape canvas of the cave, which is a skull head as well, and it's the entrance to the cave. That's where it was found at, and it's also with other relics there that's not on record that they talk about. Big Pat, hey man, I'm gonna give y'all some fire, man. I'm telling y'all, this is that heat.
And so its origins are pretty went into this miraculous piece of work. Nobody knows exactly where it was found. Anna Mitchell Hedges claims it was found in Belize. That appears to be an error of some kind. So its origins are pretty much unknown. It's probably somewhere in Mexico. We don't know. The only thing I can say about it is that it is a representation of a female skull. We now know this because a forensic reconstruction of the crystal skull was attempted by Dr. Clyde Snow, and in working with the head of the coroner's office in Cook County in Chicago. So they did a very accurate forensic reconstruction of the crystal skull. The information was sent to Frank Domingo, who is the forensic artist at the New York City Police Department. So
hey, Al, real quick.
So right when y'all say craniology ain't effective, these people are still using craniology to make us establish point in the scientific spectrum. So why do y'all try to answer on craniology? Y'all niggas go stupid.
Right. But what's crazy is they know that it's a male or a female. Are we gonna agree with that? Hey, so this is a female. This female skeletal remains are different than male skeletal remains. Like children's skeletal remains are different from adult skeletal remains. Y'all get the point. So that you can identify sex of a skeletal remains, whether it's in stone, whether it's in crystal, right? Whether it's still the organic bones, you can tell whether or not the bone structures are male or female. That's what those identifying markers of science, things that you can see and reproduce it. And that's what makes it a scientific fucking law. Not a scientific theory, not a fucking scientific hypothesis, but a scientific fucking law. So when they dig up human beings, that's another way that we cross-reference that we were here first, because when they find evidence of human beings here, then they do the craniometry, which means measuring the bones, right? In the study of craniology, the study of that comes back to say that Negroes were on this land first.
That's a fact.
First.
That's a fact. That's a fact. That's a big fact.
Y'all can't get around that. You're never gonna get around that ever. So these
drop
fools
emojis in the chat. I'm feeling this bill, man. Please drop the fire emojis, man. This is that heat. You can't get around a lot of this shit. They telling you right here. So let's continue.
Not just primitive peoples who were, a very low level of society compared to us. I would find it virtually, if not completely, impossible to reproduce something like this Coyolxauhqui's, the Coatlicue skull that's featured in the book. Again, working with quartz crystal is it's like trying to carve all these intricate designs into a diamond. It's virtually impossible. First of all, we mostly lack the industrial capacity to do such work, and certainly the artistic ability to do something like this. Interesting, on the Anna Mitchell skull, some tool marks have been found, and those tool marks, yes, and some of the tool marks are equivocal. Some people wonder if maybe they might be modern, or maybe the ancients used a kind of high technology. But along with those tool marks have been found other tool marks that show they were made with fire-hardened wooden dowels. In other words, you can take a certain wood and you burn it in a certain way because it gets very hard. And the eyes of the crystal skull, we know for sure, were made with these handmade with these dowels that were drilled in such a fashion that you could, over a very long period of time, create these optically correct eyes, by the way. The eyes on the crystal skull are not just holes or an approximation of occipital pits. They are as close to being the original as conceivably possible. And that was done by hand with these wooden dowels.
Yeah, just fantastic. That's just one of the many, many stories in this wonderful book, The Lost History of Ancient America, edited by our guest today, Frank Joseph. Frank, thank you so much for joining us. This is a fun book to read. And
all right, man, I'm gonna end that right there, man. I'm gonna definitely check out some more of his book and, man, look at some of the data and references that he's putting out. Hopefully y'all enjoyed the bill today, man. Hopefully y'all enjoy the build. Hopefully y'all enjoy the build, man. Y'all didn't hit them like buttons and y'all ain't share the live like that, but hopefully y'all enjoy this motherfucker though. You feel what I'm saying? Shout out to Chief Holiday for coming in, adding in some commentary with me, man. Reacting to the video. So yeah, man. Shout out to Frank Joseph for bringing that out.
Yeah, man. It's more and more about I mean, it's overwhelming evidence, you guys. Overwhelming evidence. I'm not sold on the crystal skulls though. I don't do all that. Yeah, that's some Indiana Jones and the crystal skull shit.
Yeah. That's some
these is alien skulls, and we think that they had X chromosomes. Shut up.
But listen, y'all be tuned in for tomorrow's bill. I got some heat kicked up for y'all tomorrow. Well, I ain't doing. I might not.
I got some heat covered up today, but yeah. Sheesh.
Okay.
I gotta do a reaction video to Sonetta and Jabarium exposing these Amerigo pretendians. I gotta do it, y'all. I gotta do it, man. I gotta do it. I thought you were doing it this morning, man. I ain't gonna lie. I thought you were gonna be doing it.
Might do one.
Man, hey, sir. You might come do it. This thing be crazy. Sheesh.
All right, man. With that being said, man, make sure y'all tune into my brother Supreme Chief Holiday. If y'all not following Supreme Chief, make sure y'all follow him. Gretchen just dropped that link in the chat for y'all right now. Make sure y'all go follow Supreme Chief Holiday. Shout out to Gretchen Hale, man. She one of the best minds out here when it comes to doing this. I didn't have to say drop the link. I was about to understand and seeing it. I'm like, it's already in the. Shout out to Gretchen, man. Make sure y'all go subscribe to that link. Go follow Supreme Chief Holiday. And man, with that being said, make sure y'all be safe. Stay aware, stay vigilant, stay dangerous, man. It's your brother, Big Aboriginal Power and Supreme Chief Holiday, man. We out. Peace.
Whatever it takes. The alleyway.
Coco, this your season right now.
They won't see me. They won't let me, yeah. I gotta sleep with one eye open, tripping, making me nervous. I take a piss, my hand on the strap. I know the eyes wanna murder. I got a feeling, keep my stomach paranoid, yeah. I won't let them, yeah. They won't see me, yeah. I gotta sleep with one eye open, tripping, making me nervous. I take a piss, my hand on the strap. I know the eyes wanna murder. I got a feeling, keep my stomach paranoid, yeah. I can't let them, yeah. They won't see me, yeah. I put attention, all in my blood, all in my veins. They